Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting edition of Transformers Reviews, and today your eyes do not deceive you. This is Planet X's version of Omega Supreme called Genesis, and I have to say, being based on the War for Cybertron Omega Supreme, you know what, it is very, very accurate. Now, whenever I got this guy, he didn't come with this box, and he's missing one of his lights, but that's okay because in either mode you can't use all 5 of the lights. I mean, yes, you can have them on, as I'll show you later, but you can only see 4 of them clearly at a time, and I'll kind of explain that later. Excuse me, I'm just kind of getting over a sinus infection here, so I'm going to sound a little stopped up during this review. Now, as you can see where I'm spinning around, this is obviously his spaceship mode from the game, and it holds very accurate. Now, I mean, if you want to have a little bit of a size comparison to kind of show you how big this guy really is, let's take Age of Extinction Galvatron here. You know, that's pretty big difference right there. Or if you want more of a vehicle mode comparison, let's take, get Optimus Prime in here. You can see, you know, this is Leader Class Optimus Prime from Age of Extinction. Look how huge Omega Supreme is compared to that. I mean, he just, you know, he's 4 times the size of Optimus. So, excuse me. Anyway, like I was just saying, normally what you'll have is on Omega Supreme, he comes with 5 lights, like I mentioned. Now, these lights, you can either press them and have them activate like this, or one of the really cool features is you can take them out, and it's just a little press button activated thing. You push it in, and you can turn it like that, and boom, the lights will stay on. Now he has one over here also, and he also has one back here in the rocket. Now the rocket, I can actually see it being lit up. Let's see if we can take it out here. Alrighty, there we have that going. And really, it's really kind of a cool effect, I'll admit. It does help give it that true War for Cybertron feel. Now, if you notice in the game, his claw for his robot mode serves as his, you know, back engine part back here, and it will turn. Now, this thing, it is a little bit loose, and it takes it a while to catch. Now, on here, it's doing pretty well during the review. But in robot mode, sometimes it'll spin freely. But right now, it's kind of catching really nice for this review, which I'm glad to hear, or see, actually. Now, also, one of the cool things is up here in the front. I actually didn't do it for this review. It's actually in his chest. But I'll keep these 4 in position right here because one goes in his robot chest, 2 go in his legs, 1 goes in the claw, and then 1 goes in this weapon. Well, like I was saying before, it's really nice and convenient to have only 4 because you can only see 4 at a time. Because where his chest is right now, even if it was on, this part of his what becomes his side would be blocking the light for the most part. Now, if we put this in here, there we have it. So if we put that in there, you see it kind of gives him the really ray of death that he was trying to kill Megatron with. So anyway, it's a cool little feature. Not too fabulous. I usually just leave them where they're more press button because I don't want the batteries dying on me. You know, when I'm gone to work, I don't get to enjoy it. So what's the purpose, right? So anyway, you know, final thoughts on a ship mode. It's really cool. It's really accurate. I mean, this thing is really bulky and heavy. There's no getting around that. Genesis is a huge figure. The way that his propulsion claw thing back here, the way it connects to the body, it's really kind of weird. It's just got this little tiny hook that hooks onto this, and I mean, it is supported on the underside, but again, it's really kind of interesting. And up here, there's just little tiny connections that keep the whole thing in check, basically. And you know what, it hasn't failed me yet. I was a little bit worried about that, but I'm not saying it's going to be catastrophic to the integrity of the toy. It's just keeping, I thought it would be hard for this spaceship mode to stay intact due to those small connections, but they haven't failed so far. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and transform him here and let you take a look at him in one of his other fancy modes. And one of the little things that Planet X did is they made sure to include a very G1-esque version of Omega Supreme that you could have. Now, the one strong thing that gives credence to this is, first of all, this right here. The way this design, this rocket, the way it even forms, you can tell it's intentional that way. And so it gives you a very, G1-esque Omega Supreme rocket, which I'll come back to that in a minute. But another thing is this little guy right here. In robot mode, you can't have him like this. He's hidden away in vehicle mode. So, why would they have a little tank if not to give you a little, I don't know, G1-esque sort of thing? And it's like the old G1 toy. That's Omega Supreme's head. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you can't get around that. Anyway, it's nice that they had this mode. And so, you have your traditional rocket base over here with the scaffolding and everything, and he's got little cannons flipped out, which we'll come to again in robot mode. Anyway, and it works. Again, the rocket, you can put it right here next to the scaffolding. It looks nice. It's very G1-esque. And so I'm really glad they did that. Now, what I was talking about with the rocket, it's really kind of cool. Everything still functions on it, the turning deal here and everything. But I actually kind of like the rocket just because it's simple, it's unique, it actually looks good. It's simple in terms of design. It's excellent and really there's a lot of good details that are complex. That's what's complex about it. Simple design, complex detail. I love it. And it looks good, but still retains the WFC look for it. So, anyway, this is what I was talking about with the lights. Now, if you'll recognize, this is actually the part of his cannon that formed the front of the ship, right here. Help if you could actually see it. Now, when we took the other parts that formed the side jets, we put them on the front here to form the rocket. And this will also be the way his normal arm is. That light is in there somewhere. Even when this is open in robot mode, you can't really see it. It doesn't illuminate this part or anything. So that's why I was saying it was good for only 4 of them. But anyway, again, you know what? I love his base mode. Looks good. So anyway, alrighty. On to the big finale, the one you've been waiting for. Genesis or Omega Supreme in robot mode. First of all, size comparisons. There he is again with Age of Extinction Galvatron, and here he is with Combiner Superion. So let that kind of soak in for a minute as to how big this boy is. Now I don't have Fort Max here ready to show you guys, but trust me, Fort Max is still a lot bigger. And one thing I do want to bring out is his arms are so massive, you can't really have both of them pointing out at the same time. You have to have one kind of back like this, and one of his arms like this. Basically because his arms are so massive, his legs are so small and squat, that he'll fall over. In a previous taping I did of this, he was flopping all over the place like a fish because I was trying to stand him up with both of his arms out, even though I knew better. So basically like this, I mean, this is a good pose for him, honestly. And one thing that I think is really kind of cool is, as I brought out in the other modes, he has 4 cannons on the front. These 2 up here and these 2 down here. Now on the back, he's the same way. Around here. So he has these 2 here and these 2 here. So, I mean, it's like in the game whenever you face Omega Supreme. That's really a really cool detail. And I love it. So, you can have his cannon over here like it's firing or what have you, where, you can switch the positioning arms as you just saw with his cannon, with his claw arm there. Now, one cool thing that I have to bring out, and maybe it's just me, but one thing that I love is the fact of how they did the lights and everything for this guy. Now, I mentioned one is in his chest. Well, if you've played the game, you know that you have to wear down Omega's chest armor in the game to defeat him. Well, that's how they disguise this compartment. You take the front piece off, you've got a scene similar to the game. Now obviously, if you don't have that like that, you want to have more like you're supposed to be. Turn that in. This keeps this plate locked in place with this deal. And voila. Here you have Omega Supreme all lit up and everything in its full glory. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. The way it's coming through on the camera, it's it's shining really bright. But overall, I like Omega Supreme. Honestly, he's not very cheap. I mean, honestly, he's not. So if you get, you know, Genesis here, it's going to be an investment. So I'm just throwing that out there. And if you look for him, you know what I'm talking about. Now, one thing I forgot to go over is his claws do have a little bit of give in the very tips of them, which is cool. I don't use it that much. I prefer to keep them straight out like that. But one of the really interesting things is if you have the Year of the Snake Omega Supreme, his claw was a pretty good size for what it was. On Genesis here, this thing is massive. I mean, it's about the size of my hand. A little bit smaller. But you know what? Overall, I love it. It looks cool. And that's pretty much it. So this has been the review of Transformers Planet X Genesis, or War for Cybertron Omega Supreme.